Hey, everybody, this podcast is brought to you by nobody except the listeners. And listen, if you want to keep this podcast ad-free and you want to prevent us from doing ads for things like Manscaped, you better go to AAApodcast.com/join or Patreon. Otherwise, you're going to have to hear Mitsuki talk about grooming his testicles in his ball sack with the Manscaped product. You don't want me to come on here and talk about, how great the male grooming products are, do you? So spare yourself all the pain and agony and head over to AAApodcast.com/join or Patreon. You're going to get all of our exclusive episodes and you'll be helping out the podcast as well. And with that, small threat, it's time to start the show.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at AAApodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Hello and welcome to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. My name is Caroline and we are just entering the 596th episode. Only 28 more days to go until we hit number 600. Mitsuki, How do you feel about that? You've been here for all 600 episodes, more or less. So how does that feel?
I haven't been here for all 600 episodes. I probably missed...
well, you've been the more at most of all of us.
Well, I mean, yeah, of course. I probably have missed 20 episodes, but you know what? I'm just proud to have been able to bring out all the listeners so much great content over the years. I hope it's been great. I hope you've enjoyed it. And 600 will be our last episode, so...
Oh, just imagine we dropped that bomb on them.
Yeah.
Well, Mason, will you care to introduce yourself today? How you doing?
No, I refuse. No, I'm
Ouch.
so glad to be back after the week off, touring San Francisco, doing the thing, seeing the seals, being locked up in Alcatraz, the usual, and excited, very excited to be back on this podcast today because there is a very special show that I'm actually excited to talk about for once. So,
Oh, that's great. So yes, we are here to make your anime addiction worse, and you can also do that on our social media. Of course, we are on Twitch broadcasting live every Sunday at 5 p.m. EDT. So you can watch the podcast even before it's out on your favorite podcast platform. But we are also on Facebook, Twitter, and of course our lovely Discord where you can banter with your fellow addicts. Isn't
That's
that
right.
fun? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, today we are going to be kind of doing a retrospective on reviews that have happened on this show that mostly Mason and I have not been around for. Mitsuki will probably talk about a couple here and there too, but just talking about the shows that we have major opinions on that we never got the chance to share here.
Yes,
I'm gonna grill
thankfully.
Mitz on some of his takes as well, though. He's not safe. Don't worry about it.
I was going to say that the listeners are safe from my bad opinions. It's like, I don't have to go back and share all these garbage opinions that I have. It's just going to be good old Mason and Caroline going to be rapping about it. But then Mason's got to come in here and drop that on people.
I was gonna come
Ruin
back
it.
and I'm like, okay, Mason has been reborn. We're gonna be extra positive, all happy, good vibes. No, that's probably not gonna last. But we will see how that goes in this last minute topic.
It's going to be happy. It's going to be
Yes.
so happy.
And then we're going to be ending it all off with our review of ODDTAXI, which people should be excited for because
Ooh,
I
yeah.
think I don't think it's supposed to be a spoiler here that all three of us have pretty positive opinions on ODDTAXI.
It was definitely some sexiness, I would say, going on in ODDTAXI. I would definitely...
When did that happen?
I would definitely pay at least twice the going rate to ride in Mr. Otokawa's taxi. And you know what? If I have to share it with like Dobu or any of the others, it'll be fine. We'll do a carpool. Oh, we should discuss who we would rather share a taxi ride with later. That would be fun. Bertman on the Twitch says the alpaca is sexy. Well, we'll find out.
wrong.
We'll see about
Birdman
that.
is not wrong, yeah. Speaking the truth.
So soft and fluffy and warm. Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
shall
Just
we
like a-
keep that till later and head into our big news of the week?
Sure, why not?
おー、大ニュースです。It's time for big news of the week.
Well, it's very sad. Takao Saito has passed away. So, for people who don't know who Takao Saito was, he passed away at age 84 from pancreatic cancer on September 24th. So, Takao Saito was the creator of Golgo 13. So, for people who don't know Golgo 13, you really should, because it began publishing in 1968. Has 201 volumes in print with 300 million copies of the manga sold, which makes it the second highest selling manga of all time. And I guess just behind One Piece, pretty much, is the only thing in front of it. And I doubt that will change. And it has a TV series and 2 films, or maybe 2 TV series. I'm not really sure, but one of them came out in 2008. And he was born in November 1936 in Nishizawa City, now Wakayama City, and started his career as a manga artist after graduating high school, and in 1955 started with his debut manga, Baron Air. So, I don't know, it's just sad. It's just like, it's a pretty big name in the anime industry to have passed away. I doubt he's been all that active recently, considering how ill he was, but I don't know. If you guys know anything about Golgo 13?
I have.
Can't say that I knew anything.
I've watched definitely the films and maybe a little bit of the TV series. But the crazy thing about its success is like literally the second best manga series in terms of sales. Is like it is the only seinen in the top 10. Like when you look at the list, it's all shonen. It's all One Piece, Dragon Ball, Naruto, Detective Conan, Blackjack. Like it's all skewing younger. And Golgo 13 was like one of the big ones that had that more mature themes of violence and sexuality that just helped set it apart. So definitely one of those iconic series that doesn't have the acclaim it does in the West, just from kind of being hidden, but definitely a big blow to a legend, a classic within the industry.
Yeah, it's just like we've now lost a couple extremely well-known names in manga here in short order. So Berserk and now Golgo 13. So, and there's really nothing else close to Golgo 13. It actually has 15% more sales than Dragon Ball. So, I mean, in a much shorter period of time. I mean, Dragon Ball has 160 less volumes and was in print, and Golgo 13's been in print for over 50 years. But I don't know. I think I'm gonna watch the Golgo 13, at least one of the movies now, because just to celebrate, the life of someone who worked so hard for their, it's basically like a lifetime achievement. So, yeah, I don't know. Because I want to know more about Golgo 13, because honestly, my fondest memories of Golgo are basically walking through, like, no matter what month or no matter what, like, store it is. If it's a convenience store particularly, you'd walk through the convenience store. And for those people who haven't been in Japan, the layouts of the stores are very similar. They're laid out so that there's, like, glass windows at the front, and in the windows there's magazines and all this stuff and shelves of manga and books and whatever. And there's always Golgo 13 manga on those shelves, always. And half the time there's like an old businessman standing there reading them. So, because they'll read half of like a manga in the store. I don't know how they get away with that, but they do. Sometimes they're like not bound or whatever. And so, it's just always there. I never picked it up to read Golgo 13, but you see it everywhere. So it's pretty popular stuff. So anyway, so sorry to start us off on a sad note, but Caroline's got something a little more uplifting for us.
Yeah, I mean, I really couldn't find anything anime news that I really wanted to talk about, but I did find some food news that I really enjoyed. So
this is big news.
Let's talk about Krispy Kreme Japan
and
TJI Fridays creating donut burgers. So it's called, only in Japan as far as I know. Yeah, way. So it's called Friday's Signature Donut Burger, and it's an all-beef patty with sliced bacon, mozzarella cheese, Cajun onion rings with Friday's nature sauce, which is sauteed garlic, cayenne pepper, Tabasco, and Jack Daniel's whiskey. And it's all between 2 Krispy Kreme glazed donuts. How does that sound?
Let me read
Have
this
you
again.
guys ever had a donut burger or donut concoction before?
There's
No.
a restaurant in Tampa called DATZ, DATZ, that is famous for the Krispy Kreme donut burger. It was on the Food Network, but I still have not had it. You know, they have all kinds of stuff there, including buns that are made out of fried macaroni and cheese, which is pretty fantastic. But I have not had this. It looks like it's too big to fit in your mouth. What about you, Mason?
I know.
Mason's like,
So
I've had it every year. I have it.
Well, obviously I've not had this iteration because it's exclusive to Japan, but I have had kind of similar to what you mentioned, Mitz, like ramen, where ramen makes like the buns of the burger. That's pretty good. But I've had grilled cheese with like donut on the outside, and it's actually not bad. It was like a place in Maine that uses like the local donut shop to use to make their grilled cheese, and it's surprisingly good. So if it wasn't for the fact that this is a TGI Fridays, which I do not trust with any sort of food product,
Oh no.
I would say I'm down.
You
Yeah,
know,
I mean, it does look like something you would have to unhinge your jaw to eat anyway.
I think it probably smashes down pretty well. But you know,
Definitely does.
there's a restaurant in Tampa that is not called DATZ, but they sell. I had a peanut butter and marshmallow fluff burger there once, where they put peanut butter and marshmallow fluff on the burger, and that's pretty much like all it's got on it. And you'll be surprised, but it is pretty good actually. So something about the fats, they blend really well with like the sweetness, and so yeah. But Japan has never been good at donuts, so I guess
It's
they're
Krispy
expanding
Kreme.
their horizons in terms of the culinary world. So good for them. I'm sure this burger costs a fortune.
I do love Krispy Kreme. But if that sounds like too much of a calorie heart attack right there,
Oh,
they
yeah.
do have a slightly healthier option with the flaming donut chicken sandwich. But it's it still has the donut buns. But it will skip the onion rings and gives you jalapenos instead, and ranch dressing instead of mozzarella, and with Friday's Nashville hot sauce. Both of them are $15, and obviously they come with French fries. And so if there are any special listeners in Japan right now, you can get it until October 31st.
Interesting. Actually,
Yeah.
the quote unquote lighter option doesn't sound all that light, but it.
I know, I'm just joking.
But it. That's why the old lady booed you, by the way, because you said healthy and Krispy Kreme in the same sentence. But
It was a joke.
you can hear Mason talk more about Nashville hot chicken on our Hobby Addicts, so that was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, the timing.
Yeah, speaking of Mason, he's here and he's
I'm
excited
back.
to talk about Universal Studios. What do you got?
I also did not have much anime news to speak on, but obviously Super Mario World came to Universal Studios in Japan earlier this year after being delayed a bit, and they've already announced that they will be launching a Donkey Kong themed expansion in 2024. So if you're
Weird.
like, oh man, Super Mario World, I want to go check it out, I gotta go, like, just wait. They're just gonna keep on adding to it anyway, so you might as well wait, because this expansion will be like double the size of the Nintendo themed part of the theme park. So the new area will feature a roller coaster, interactive experiences, merchandise, and all that food stuff. So obviously just more generic things for you to spend time and money at. But nonetheless, if you had to choose between Donkey Kong and Super Mario, what world would you guys visit? If
Super
you could
Mario.
only pick one.
Super Mario.
Super Mario, it's not even
Mario
close.
too. I'm not going to disagree, but
Who
I
gives a
didn't know if
fuck
we had
about Donkey
some
Kong?
DK. Well, obviously, if you listen to the Hobby Addicts, that one lady on the mobility scooter that we talked about, it all comes back. Everything in the world can be traced back to San Francisco. That's a fact.
Wait, did you say that this Donkey Kong expansion is going to double the size of the area?
Of the
Jesus.
additions
The
of
Super Mario.
yeah. So it won't double that size. I think it'll be about the same size as what they implement.
But like double the overall area of the park.
I believe so. Yeah, based on the initial estimates.
It
Can
seems
they really
odd.
put in all? Yeah, it says like a lot of Donkey Kong stuff.
The timing is odd too, because you got to think that like Japan's like in lockdown and it's all like, you know, I mean, they're not exactly back to normal. So it's like, no one's really going out and doing things. Let's spend $500 million on a theme park expansion. It's just like, I don't know.
Hey, good for them. And I think I remember reading, and I haven't looked at this in a while, so let me go back and double check. I think the plan is to bring more Nintendo themed initiatives to Universal theme parks across the globe, including the one in Orlando. So,
Oh, that'd be great.
yeah, so you don't have to go across the oceans relative to wherever you're at to visit it. So, maybe podcast trip in Florida in like 4 years.
Which
Yeah.
At this rate, I'll be back in Florida by then. So,
Exactly.
yeah. And by the way, if people want to hear our hobby addicts today, it's we're starting to discuss horror movies for October, and also I reviewed the Kena Bridge of Spirits game. So you'll get that if you support the podcast. So, all right, well, I want to go to these theme parks in Japan. I just have to get to Japan again first. It's like I've been trying. So
Where would you
The
go
world
first?
just has to stop ending.
These
That's all
Universal
that's gotta happen.
type exhibits, or would you want to go to the new Ghibli museum? Not the like Ghibli museum, but the whatever the zone is that they talked about.
I would probably go to the Super Mario World first. It's probably got. I mean, first I'd look at pictures of them all and try to decide which one looks like the better. Like whoever put more effort into it. I just think Nintendo and Universal Studios has a whole lot more money than Studio Ghibli does. So I expect that it's probably a more expensive sort of experience, and by that I mean like it's bigger, it's got rides, it's got the food, it's got all the fun, all the stuff you expect from and I want to slide through a drain pipe and come out some other spot. Okay, well, let's be honest, we all want that.
We do.
Since
we
I
do.
was like
It's no
5.
lie.
I would probably go to the Ghibli one because I've never been to any place with like a Ghibli museum or learning more about that or even anime in general. So if I was going to be making the trip to Japan, that's probably where I'd go instead of Universal.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, oh my God, the time has come for I'm very interested to see what you guys come up with here. Mason has filled out nothing on the document. He's very mysterious. He's a
Ooh,
man
mysterious.
of mystery.
Because I didn't realize that this was up because we decided to do this topic minutes before starting.
Well,
And the topic is like a little retrospective on the review of all the shows we've done on this podcast over the many, many years, kind of as we approach episode 600, kind of get a feel for how each of us as hosts score shows, what they mean to us, how we go about it, if there even is a method, how they've changed over the years, and then as well as us kind of going through the history and picking out some shows that we're either going to drill Mitsugi his opinions on,
Oh
if
my
anything
God.
has changed, as well as kind of give Caroline and myself a chance to wax poetic about any shows that we didn't get a chance to talk about back in the day. So I guess first things first, I wanted to just get into like the very, touchy subject of putting numbers on shows, scoring them. Do you guys have a methodology to them? How loose or firm are you with them? Like, when you go to score a show, what are you thinking?
Well,
yeah,
who do we go first?
Whoever
Yeah.
wants. This is going to be a rambly discussion with no set.
I do just want
itinerary.
to say real quick before we launch into that we were going to do another like anime dating game show like we did before, but we were unable to acquire somebody, so that is why we're sort of putting this scab in place for the time being. But again, if you want to be a participant in that dating game, there are prizes, and you just have to be available with your, with your, what do you want to call it? Like your other
Significant
half.
other.
Significant other. You go
Your
out in
significant
public,
other.
you introduce the show to people as we ask. One of them
Yes.
might be interested, and then you just acquire them as a boyfriend/girlfriend. Then you just get them to come. It's a perfect crime. It works every time. Use this as like a pickup line, starting point. Hey, do you want to be on this massive podcast? You just need to be an anime fan and a fan of me, and then you'll be good. So
There's
it's
no
not that
surprise you went to Alcatraz last week.
exactly.
For me, as far as like reviews, I pretty much put every show at like a 3 to start with. I'm pretty generous. I think a 3 is pretty generous. And if I enjoy the show, I knock it down. Or I bring it up. Yeah, I hate them.
Wait. I've been on this path. Wait, one's a good score, right? That's what I've been saying this whole time.
It's like golf, yeah. So if I enjoy I used to be like more analytical. It's like, oh, this show has themes, and it's like, oh, water is about purity and literature and all this, and and that's all fine. Like, I appreciate that sort of approach. It's just that I feel like I'm lazier now, and I just like, if I watch it and I enjoy it and I'm engaged the whole time, and I find it and it's not boring, I give it a good score. And I think that's kind of how a lot of people are. They're not really taking the time to like read into it all, but like, so if the show is just fun and I enjoy it, I give it a good score. And if I don't enjoy it or it makes me angry or something, then I give it a bad score. And that's pretty much it. But I pretty much put everything at a 3 to begin with. It's pretty much as simple as that.
I
Caroline?
mean, as I guess controversial as putting a numerical score on different shows is, I don't really see it as like the thing to follow regarding a show, and I don't really see like as that big a deal, because for the most part, when I put a score on something, it's really just an organizational device. Like, if I were to go to my anime list and I want to look through some of my favorite shows to give recommendations to people, or if I'm looking for something specific to talk about for the podcast, it's easiest just to hit the score button, and then I can see automatically see my favorite shows and don't have to bother going through the sludge of the shows I already disliked. So regarding that, actually, I'm just going to base this on my anime list kind of scoring system, because that's what I usually use. Especially when I first started watching anime, a lot of my stuff was, giving it an 8 as a very basic good show.
Out of 10?
But that was like, yes, because when you only watch so much stuff, like when there's hardly, there's hardly anything to compare it to, you just assume that things are decent. I'm not sure why we're holding up our shirts, but is there a reason for that?
No, someone in the chat asked if I was a luchador because I'm wearing a Lucha Libre shirt. And the answer to that, A, no, I am not a luchador, but underneath it in very small letters, it says AAA.
Oh, shit.
So
We should sell merchandise.
I've been
We
saying that
should.
for decades, literally decades.
Well, maybe we'll have to make that happen.
Before he was even a thought, he was saying
Exactly.
that.
Before this podcast even existed, I'm like, damn, I could use an anime-themed podcast shirt.
Well,
That
anywho,
would
back
get
to
me.
what I was saying.
That would get me all the girlfriends to then get on that podcast when it exists. Oh, it all connects.
Sorry, back to what I was saying. Yeah, when you have not really watched all that much stuff at the very beginning of your anime watching experiences, you just think everything is at least decent. You don't really see just how bad stuff is until you have things to compare it to. So a lot of my stuff were 8s, and actually I've gotten to the habit of sometimes just going through my anime list and making alterations to my scores, bringing them down or bringing them back up, and usually they go down if I've pretty much forgotten anything about them. So nowadays, the bare minimum is a 7. I did not make that much of a difference. But at least now, if I actually really enjoyed a show, it'll be an 8. If it's something amazing, it'd be a 9. If it's something groundbreaking for me, it's going to be a 10. And rare do I give it anything below a 5, but that just means it's really, really bad. In terms of like the podcast, I remember our review on The Promised Neverland Season 2 was a very difficult one for me to score, because while I enjoyed the anime itself, what it meant for the franchise of, I guess you would call it, of The Promised Neverland, it brought it down. I had to bring it down, but I feel like I should have brought it down even more, even though it was produced well enough, except for that very major infraction with the whole let's take several volumes of a manga and put it into a 1-minute epilogue. But yeah, yeah, that was a difficult one to judge. But I just like the fact that we put scores on things for fun, really. Not that much of a serious thing.
Carolyn, like, oh, I never give anything lower than a 7 or a 3.5 out of 5. Yasuhime sitting here at a 1.5.
Okay, that
I
was
love
it was the worst.
Love
It was
it.
so boring. If it's boring, then it deserves a very low score.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to bring this little discussion as like a prelude to the main topic, just because I'm with you guys. Scores are great to kind of get a general trend of things, but they are so nebulous and personal that I think you guys have probably long figured out that when I give a score or show a score, that means completely different things than when someone else gives that show the same score. And I think we're going to just have fun just joshing about numbers here and being like, oh, Mitsuki, how could you give this show this? Or Caroline, why do you think this was this score? But like, really, it's so personal, so subject to change over time that it's just a nice way, as Caroline said, to kind of track where things end up relative. But at the end of the day, it's just fun to mess around with that. So, with that said, Caroline has a bunch of stuff written down. I definitely know where she's driving at with some of these points, but do we just want to kind of start at wherever we want in this very handy document that Icy Rose has put together for us and maintained over the years that you can find on our Discord, which lists every anime this podcast has ever reviewed, who passed it, what episode it was in, as well as the scores that each host gave it. So big thank you to Icy, as usual, for making that thing.
This Excel sheet belongs. This Excel sheet belongs in like the Library of Congress or something. It is that in depth.
It really does. You really see the legacy and history of the podcast up through, I guess half the time that it's been around, a little bit more.
We're missing about 4
208.
years. We're missing about 4 years on this, but yeah, we have reviewed well over 500 anime on this podcast. So probably well over 600, because we used to do 2 or 3 a week.
Jesus, how much
Well,
time
it was
did you
at
have
the
back
beginning. It
then?
was a lot of stuff we had seen already, so it wasn't all current. It wasn't all current stuff from the start. So,
And each host would do each review was done by just one host, so that you could have different hosts review different shows.
Yep.
But now we all suffer together, and it brings us closer.
So where do you want to begin? I really only have one anime here. It's Amagi Brilliant Park. I apparently didn't review that, but that was way back in episode 268. I don't really like Amagi Brilliant Park, so if we had to fill that one in, it would probably not get a good score. I found the story to be kind of stupid, and people wearing mascot costumes for the whole show is it's a little too silly for me personally. So, despite it being a KyoAni show, I think it's not really my cup of tea. So, but people,
it takes place at a theme park, so it kind of makes sense. But if you want to jump to shows that you didn't review, and you were out that episode, one I want to talk about is you were not around for the sequel to Rakugo Shinju, a show that you enjoyed. I mean, you gave it season 1 of 5.
Yep.
Have you watched the second season?
I have not.
Oh my goodness. You
This
really
is
should find the time to do that.
Very
Jason's like, burn in
unfinished
hell, Mitz.
experience right there.
No, I don't disparage you for it. You're a busy man. It's a lot of work watching entire shows week after week after week, and finding the time to slip another one in is difficult. But considering,
Unless it's on Taxi.
yeah, true, because it's amazing. But
It's
speaking of
fucking good.
amazing, the Rakugo sequel is probably worth your time to finish up.
Is that going to keep me awake, though, in the middle, like at 10 o'clock at night when I'm in bed? Because Rakugo, the first season was pretty cerebral and kind of just like slow, and characters, and they talk a lot, and Mitz is asleep. And then before you know it, I'm asleep and sleeping like a baby. So
True,
Yeah, but
and you
with
might have
season
forgotten
2,
quite a bit.
The thing is
Sorry.
that season 1 is it gives you what you'd like, but season 2 gives you what you like, but it's everything that you know about the show is pretty much flipped upside down because there are some plot twists that you probably were not expecting. I don't know if you would really remember what happened in season 1, considering it's been quite a while since you probably watched season 1.
I
And you
remember.
haven't thought about it since.
I'm a very my
Okay.
mind is like a steel trap. I remember everything.
Wonderful.
Well, then there's really no excuse for not watching season 2 because
damn.
it's even better than the first season.
Wow. Okay. Well, all right.
Maybe chip away at it while we're doing our impressions over these next couple
I'll
weeks.
I'll take the L on that one. It's fine.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Caroline, what did you want to bring up?
Well, first of all, Princess Principal, which was reviewed in episode 400. I really like this show. Actually, I was looking at my anime list, and I noticed I gave it a 7, and I think it actually needed to be bumped up to an 8. Because
Wow.
I remember we rewatched it for Anime Club, not like maybe a year ago or something like that. And it was it was really good, and apparently has a very good dub. I don't think I watched the dub though. Have you? Do you guys remember watching it?
I gave it a 3. I thought it was fine. I remember it fairly well, especially considering this was 4 years ago. But
Yeah, the podcast score averaged out to a 3.5 or a 7 on Caroline's scale.
pretty
so
good.
That's close. It's not.
pretty good
I think they
score.
captured. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, should I explain what Princess Principal is all about?
I mean, I think you should explain
Or-
why you like it so much. I mean, I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I suppose so. Well, a lot of my favorite shows have style, and this one has style. It also has a very interesting cast of characters, an interesting world. I feel like with a lot of anime that have very westernized alternate worlds, they're kind of flat and not really a lot to it. With Princess Principal, I thought it was very enjoyable, and yeah, I really don't know what else to say.
I just remember a lot of trains. Were there like a bunch of trains in that show? Like I just remember
Well, it's like
And
steampunk,
gunfights.
so their favorite thing is trains. Yeah.
trains and gunfights and cute girls.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's no Cabaneri, but yeah, it had a little bit of all those.
Yeah. What was that girl's name in Cabaneri? Because she was the shit.
Moomin?
Was it
Moomin?
Mume or something?
Why am I? Yeah, maybe. I'm thinking Moomin Rider. Mume Cabaneri.
Yeah, because she was a spicy
not an
little
N.
badass.
Yeah,
I
she
was-
was pretty cool.
I was a big Mume fan. Yeah. All right. Well, how about you, Mason? Do you have anything you need to get off your chest?
Oh, later I will. But I was surprised, Mitz. We'll get to it. I was surprised that your score for Baby Steps was a 2.5 out of 5.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Which
The tennis anime?
both makes sense. Yeah, the tennis one. It just seems like generally we fall back on that being like, oh, it's a pretty like atypical one, but it's pretty good.
I mean, I just recall Baby Steps being a little slow and kind of boring.
Fair enough.
And we got through most of the first season. I mean, most of the first season of Baby Steps was just like slowly learning how to play tennis and advance and becoming better very quickly. And then I recall that they actually played some pretty good tennis towards the end of the first season, and I never watched anything else of it. But you're asking me to recall something from like 6 years ago, but
Exactly.
But,
What happened to the steel trap?
I really find that the heavy shonen sports animes are the ones that I like the most, and honestly, that's because sports is like hot-blooded, testosterone-filled crap. I mean, sometimes it's like if you're talking about men's sports at least, I guess, but like it's like you got like lots of macho type guys and. Everyone's like, oh, I'm going to be the best. And, everyone's aiming to be the best in sports. And so, like, Baby Steps was fine, but, like, I do better with, like, the majors, the the Ace of Diamond, the Hajime no Ippos, because it's very much about, like, being the best. It's very focused on, that sort of theme. And and as such, there's a lot of, like, action to it. And it's about the sport a lot of times. And I think Baby Steps was just a little too much It's just a little too like lukewarm. I don't know. I think that's kind of like where I would put it, and too slow.
Which I want to follow up by mentioning the all-time GOAT maneuver of Cram strong-arming you into giving Ping Pong the animation a 5 with him to make it like one of the few like all 5 shows.
Oh man,
Did
you really have to convince him like that?
That was just for me. You didn't know it yet, but you were planting the seed of like, oh, this podcast is good, and I'm a fan.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, he did strong arm me. I mean, I don't know.
You were definitely not leaning towards a 5, but he was just really selling you on it. And I vividly remember listening to that episode. I'm like, yeah, Cram, get him, force him to do it. And he succeeded.
Cram and you were very similar in that you're both very much like you're the type that likes to analyze very carefully and have very like thoughtful observations about things. And like Cram had a degree in film and all this, and so like you guys would have got along great. And so, you know, I don't know. I think as I recall, I was like a 4.5 or a 5 on ping pong anyway. So it's like, and honestly, it's like these scores, they don't really matter that much. It's like people get all bent out of shape about like, oh, you only gave my favorite show a 4. It's like an 8 out of 10 is a really good score. It's like it really is like if you go on like IMDb, not many movies have an 8 out of 10. It's just they just don't. So it's like even like 6 out of 10 is a good score. So it's like, you know, but it's a 4 out of 5, it's a 5 out of 5. It's like who really gives a shit? But at the end of the day, you know, Cram was a great guy. I made him happy. So it's like whatever.
We appreciate
I love
the
how you talk about some of the
sacrifice.
previous hosts as if they're dead. Like they're just never coming back.
He's not dead. I mean, he lives in Tennessee. He's probably eating like Tennessee Nashville hot chicken like day after day. I'm sitting here in
My
Denver.
man.
Denver has some of the worst. Denver has approximately none of its own indigenous food. It is just not a good food city at all. And Nashville's like, oh, I got Nashville hot chicken. You know, there's like different places are known for like barbecue. Florida's got like good seafood. Maine's got good seafood. You know, Mason's coming out of San Francisco. He's like, oh, it's got all this great Asian food. It's like Denver's like, we just kind of like have, you know,
We put a green sauce on our burrito. You
Denver
cool with that?
people in Colorado would eat green chili on fucking vanilla ice cream. Okay, it is just not good. Don't even get pancakes started on a rant. But
We
yeah.
can't get too much into food talk right now.
No,
we
I know.
can't go on that much of a
Anyway.
tangent.
Caroline, I think it's back to you. Do you have something you want to get off your chest, or do you want to pepper me with more observations about my poor tastes from the past?
Okay, I don't say that you have awful taste.
I mean, I probably do.
It's a taste. Everybody has a taste. So since we are watching it for Anime Club this week, let's talk about Blood Blockade Battlefront. I know, one of your favorite shows.
If you're listening to this, Mit's just face
If
palmed.
it's above a 2.
Yeah. I know how much you hate this show.
fucking
And I don't like blame you too much for that, because I do think we have probably similar feelings towards it. But like I said, once again, it has style, and that already makes it pretty good to me. So this was reviewed back into on episode 295, and I remember getting into this show for the first time a few years ago, and I was very excited for it because it looked so cool, and from the description I could think of what I would want to happen in this show. And then I watched it and I'm like, this is very episodic and not at all what I was expecting. And here's a little spoiler on my thoughts for Anime Club this week. There are so many better things that Leo can do as a main character than just stand around and maybe sometimes use these all-powerful eyes that he has been gifted with. Why is he so useless is my question. What did I give? I should probably have brought this up before, but I can't remember exactly what I gave this show.
I give it a
And
1.
also another thing, the English title is too hard to say. Kekai Sensen is so much easier.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I don't know. The reason why I don't like Blood Blockade Battlefront is that the sequel? How many of these are there? For fuck's
No,
sake?
because the sequel is
Beyond is the
Blockade
sequel.
Battlefront Beyond, which is the sequel podcast to Anime Addicts Anonymous.
I had to watch both of these, and the reason why I don't like this anime, and again, my taste might be horrible. People don't agree often, but the reason why I don't like this anime is the same reason why I don't like. What was that? The hell was that movie? I just watched this movie. Oh my god, Premiere or whatever.
Premiere, the trigger
It's
one.
the same reason why I don't like Premiere. It's just chaotic nonsense the whole time. It's just screaming.
Okay. Well,
and,
I wouldn't say that.
well, I mean, like it's I don't like super robot anime because it's like it's just like Premiere is literally Gurren Lagann second half cut by cut. I mean, maybe not cut by cut, but it ends up the same place, which is like, oh, our like robots and shit are just gonna get gradually bigger, and then by the end of the movie, you're like it's like some robots standing around like a pool table, and they're like shooting pool, and the Earth is just like on the pool table, and it's like Earth corner pocket, and it's just like, it's just. Have you seen Gurren Lagann? Hey, they literally throw planets around. It's like this is
Yes, I
without
remember
without any tie to logic or common sense whatsoever. And Blood Blockade Battlefront is just like people screaming and like giant vehicles just like transforming into monsters or all this nonsense. Just like, I don't know. It's just not my thing. It's just too much chaos. It doesn't make any sense. And
I don't think it's that much chaos on the level of the second half of Gurren Lagann.
oh my
I did give
God.
the show a 6, which, as I mentioned, is below my good show average.
We just had
but
Ted Bundy
it
just
is
joined the
funny.
Twitch.
Stop it.
No, I'm for real.
There are a lot of funny parts of Kekai Sensen, and the characters I really enjoyed. It's just that there wasn't a. Oh my God, you are serious?
I'm serious. Ted
What?
Bundy, thank you,
I
thank
thought
you.
it was a
He
joke.
says he likes my bald head, and I didn't know they had computers in hell. That's pretty interesting. So,
Okay. We are going on so many tangents today,
well, you know what?
but you know what?
Nothing. I'm just here rolling with the punches, talking about anime
Okay.
because it's what we love.
I thought you were going to say something else. But Kekai Sensen just goes in a lot of different places every single episode. It does not have like a very strong through line story that I was really liking.
Yeah.
There are a couple episodes I really enjoy, but unfortunately, I had high hopes for it, and it did not meet those expectations. So that made me disappointed.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I really need that pat on the back right there.
Mason, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm going through seeing if there's any show that I think deserves a higher score than what it averaged out to be.
Okay.
No Game No Life. That was a fun show. Very problematic, but
Very.
that was a fun show. I just love the look of that show. Dragon Pilot, Hisune and Masutan was a very dumb show, but it was definitely bold in a lot of weird ways. Very similar, actually, to No Game No Life, where it had a lot of elements that I found a little cringy, nightmare-inducing moments, but it really did enough things to make it feel fresh. So those are two shows that, like, had I been around back in the day, I probably would have tried to vouch for them a bit more. But I don't know.
Dragon Pilot. I don't think I ever watched that. If I did, I forgot it. And if I did, I'm sorry.
It had such a
That
cool.
Iron Mind is having a lot of leaks right there,
It's fine.
Mitsuki.
It's fine. The
Jeez.
just like Blood Blockade, a fantastic opening and ending that made it kind of saved it.
Yeah. I'm also a sucker for OPs and EDs, as we have talked about in the past.
Your Line April.
Okay, I
It
find
had
that show
three
very
fives across the board.
Oh, come on.
No.
3-5?
No way is that show deserving of fives across the
No.
board.
Oh, boo this
I'm
man.
glad you guys loved it. You guys were all so hyped on it. Oh, you guys had so much fun, and I'm glad. But a 5? 5?
I don't know if I'd really call that
Yeah.
show.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
I don't know if I really would call that show fun. It's more like basically just pure misery the whole time.
I meant like you guys had fun in the sense of like you, Chaki, and Kimiko, I believe, were all just on the same wavelength during the review.
Well, I do remember back in the day, Kimiko just like sobbing for four straight hours on my couch watching that anime. She was very I don't know, very very overtaken by it, like emotionally. And so I think, and then you watch that and then you go and you review it, and it's like, this anime has such a profound impact on me that, you know, in the moment it feels like you could give it an 11 out of 10, you know, honestly, at that point. So but you don't agree. So what kind of score would you guys give that show, since I'm guessing neither of you seem to agree? And that's fine that you don't.
Yeah, I was not a huge fan. I mean, at the time, of course, I shed some tears because it is a very emotional show. But yeah, I mean, I just thought it was strange that there was a lot of slapstick comedy in what is otherwise a very serious show, considering the main character was physically abused as a child. So I just thought the difference in how they treated that is really whiplashy. Also, I mean, I wasn't really all that excited by the show. I wasn't really engaged with it as much as other people were. And then I watched March Comes In Like a Lion, which has some also very similar kind of moods and themes, which I found to be displayed a lot better. And that really affected my judging process of Your Lie in April going forward.
All right, well, that's fine. You know, I don't know. If I reviewed it again, maybe I wouldn't give it a 5. But I am a sucker for classical piano, and I will say that after I watched Your Lie in April, the piece that the kid, I can't remember what his name is, the boy at the end plays the Chopin Ballad No. 2 on the piano. It's a true virtuistic piano piece that is worthy of winning a piano concert competition or whatever. One of my favorite pieces of music, and actually inspired me to try to take that piece on. I got about halfway through it, memorized about half of it, and then realized that keeping that piece in your repertoire is like a full-time job. Like, it's just not the kind of piece of music that you learn and then keep it and keep playing it.
You can't casually just like bring it up at parties. Like,
I mean, you really can't, because like the amount of dexterity and muscle memory accuracy to play that piece is just ridiculous. It requires you to play it probably an hour every day. So like people like the kid in the show, they'll master the piece, they'll play it at a concert, they'll play it in a competition, and then they don't play it anymore. But you know, it is a classical music show, and I am a fucking sucker for Chopin. That's like my muse right there. So, you know, that probably had an effect on why I gave it a 5, to be perfectly honest. And it was a pretty solid representation of classical music. You know, there are other classical music shows that have like that theme in it, but you know, Piano no Mori is not really gonna, it's not really gonna make the cut. You know, it's shows like Nodame Cantabile and then Your Lie in April, which has a little more melodrama than it needs. But that's probably why I gave that thing a 5. That, and it's so fucking sad.
And I just looked it up. And I did give Your Lie in April a 6, so it is about on par with Kekai Sensen.
Out of 5. Wow. You
no, I'm talking about my 4 out of 10.
Out of here.
Just translate it to podcast numbers.
Get the fuck out. You gave. Oh my god, I'm dead.
I'm sorry. I can't do math. What is 6 out of 10
just
translated
divided by
into 5?
2. Just divided
3.
by 2.
It's 3.
You gave it. Oh my god! Did you just like count on your fingers? 1, 2, 3.
Okay,
4.
I'm sorry.
Mason's like, I know, I do calculus for work. In all honesty, I'm not as good at math as Mason either, but we appreciate you, Caroline. Anybody else want to talk some shit?
I'm usually able to do it. I don't know why I had a brain fart. Okay.
Zero Ryoko on Twitch, and by the way, people, you should really come hang out on Twitch with us, because it is a lot of fun. The people are very chatty today. We haven't reviewed Nodame Cantabile on the podcast before, but it's a really, really, really good show. So I don't know what I'd give it. It's at least a 4. I don't know. It's out of 5. It's really good.
Have you watched all of Nodame?
No, hell no. I've watched most of the first season.
Okay, I was gonna say I watched the first season, and it was pretty fun. I gave it like a 3 out of 5. But like I wasn't so enthralled to like continue like all the sequels and movies and specials and stuff that went with it, so I wasn't sure if it was worth following up. I feel like I got the essence of the romance and the stylings of it, but oh my goodness, is Noda just the densest person in anime?
We have a friend Erica Central Parker, who helped out with this podcast back in the day, is like a fucking ace level violinist, and she is like all about classical music. Studied it in college, and I watched a lot of the first season with her, but that was about it. Anyway, who else wants to talk shit? Because we're running out of time.
I mean, I can leave it at that if we are running out of time.
Oh, you don't have any more? Come on, you of all people has no more shit to talk.
Yeah, I mean, I have more I can talk about, but it's not like a requirement.
That's so interesting.
All right, let's talk about one more then.
Okay,
let's talk about
bring
one
it
more.
on. Fucking do it.
School Live, which is a good show to watch considering the
School
the
Live.
time of year we're in at the moment. It's not
Is
school, it? Is school live? School
Isn't
live?
English a pain in the ass? There's the word live, and the word spelled the exact same, live.
Whatever.
Not the same
it doesn't
fucking
matter.
thing. It's just English. is such a
Anywho, so
fucking,
this anime,
fucking
it was
terrible.
reviewed in episode 313, and it's one of those shows that you can't talk too many of the details about, or otherwise you will spoil what actually happens in the show. So I recommend you at least watch episode 1 if you don't want to be spoiled on what I am about to talk about. So this anime opens up with all the moe girls possible. They're just living life in school. They're having fun. There's a dog. Not much else happens in the first episode. It's actually quite boring until the very end when there's a plot twist. And the idea of this show is really fun, and I really enjoyed it. And again, for the spooky season that we are in, it's a good watch, I think.
Anime is hurting so bad for horror things. Like, there's just, I don't know. Japan doesn't do horror really in general very well, but like anime, just like, there's like, it's very rare to have a decent horror show, and this is not one of them. So,
Okay, so I wouldn't say it's like a horror show, but it's what we got.
I mean, where's the statute of limitations here? This show is like 6 years old. I mean, are we still trying to protect people? I mean, at this point, you've had plenty of time to see it. So I don't know.
I suppose.
I don't know. It's not really worth getting into. I don't know. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. I don't know. It is what it is. It's like, zombies,
Nah, I like that description of it.
zombos. It's a zombie anime. It's whatever.
We all know it's because of the moe girls.
Well, all the moe girls do deserve to die. So yeah, it did get a bump because of that. It is an anime after my own heart, but it's still not good. So
I've actually never seen this show. So
Well, that's probably a
Caroline,
good
what
thing.
what besides a big twist at the end of episode 1, like what's gonna sell me on it? Does it do anything more with the concept, or is it just a fun, cute show with a little bit of that horror tinge?
Well, the twist kind of continues on throughout the rest of the show because the main character is under the impression that everything is as normal as could
Yep.
be. She is completely psychologically ignoring
Dawn.
the zombie apocalypse and instead believing that whatever they're doing, they're fighting zombies, they are hunkering down in their school, whatever they're doing, she just believes it's all part of their club activities.
Gotcha. So does the joke change in any way, or is it just a look at how she's misinterpreting the world?
It's not really taken as a joke, really. It's like this. The friends are always kind of going back and forth on how much they should tell her or how much they can protect her from the reality. And then there's also some other characters that join their group later on that eventually make their way to the school. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good. I wouldn't say it's like a very dark psychological horror or anything like that, but it does have a little bit of that psychology spice to it.
But is it good?
No.
I
it's not
liked
good.
it. I thought it was
Oh
good.
my goodness.
It's been a while since I've watched it, but from what I can remember, it was good. I gave it an 8.
8.
An 8.
Smoked the
Holy
pants.
You guys
Shit.
don't seem to
Smoked
understand.
the pants out of Your Lie in April.
Oh,
I already explained
God
my
damn it.
boring psychological process. Okay.
Nope, this is what this whole topic was for. To just get it in stone. Caroline thinks Gakko Garashi leagues better, towers above Your Lie in April. You love to hear it.
Is
I love
Your
it.
Lie in April very well done? Yes. Is it
Apparently not.
as well done as Gakko Garashi? Probably, yes. But I enjoyed Gakko Garashi more than Your Lie in April.
Didn't they spend like
That's
half
the
that fucking
difference.
anime like wandering around that school looking for a battery or some shit? Like, oh, the
can't
battery's
remember.
in the
I just
basement.
enjoyed it.
The battery, it's in the not the basement. But it's not like a Paranormal Activity basement where you don't want to go in the basement. It's like, oh, the Moe girls will bite you. They're zombos. Oh, Caroline. Caroline's goes, she looks so mad. Like, it's fucking hilarious.
I'm
See,
not
this is-
mad. I'm just really sad.
And the Twitch chat number of viewers is ballooning as Caroline looks very sad. Gakko Gurashi, you heard it here, officially better than Your Lie in April.
It is to me. I'm not saying that Your
Wow.
Lie in April is not as well done as Gakko Gurashi. It's definitely very well done. It's just not what I enjoyed. And that is my scoring process.
You know what? You know what? I'm watching a hentai right now called Joshin Shokan because we got a hentai episode to do later. And I got to say, this girl has a tremendous rack. And I would give this rack at least a 4 out of 5, which also better than Your Lie in April. Officially, Joshin Shokan, big titties, better than Your Lie in April. Fuck,
well, in
fuck
terms
Cowdy.
of you're
listen,
comparing
listen,
your
fuck Cowdy. That bitch is
opinions to
dead
my
anyway.
opinions.
She, you know, she's dead and gone, out of my mind, out of our hearts. Okay. Mason, you have anything else you want to say?
No, we're not going to
We've
top
picked
that.
on Dear
I think we're
Caroline
good.
enough.
We've already peaked.
I've
so.
already explained myself. Take it as you will.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Okay.
Shall we get into our weekly trivia question while we all
Yes.
simmer?
Yeah, simmer down.
This
So,
pot is
an
boiling.
odd. Yeah, I know. Luckily, we should be pretty placated when we get to review. That's not the word. In Odd Taxi, what type of martial arts does Shirakawa practice as a hobby? And we will be back with the answer right after the news break.
Hey, Anime Addicts, Mitsugi is here, and I'm bringing you a whole bunch of your anime news, leading us off with some new anime adaptation announcements, as we often do. Tokyo Games and Akatsuki have revealed the Tribe 9 anime that's going to be coming out in the winter of 2022. This was revealed during the Extreme Progress Report stream that happened this past Thursday. It's a multimedia project, and that anime is going to be coming out in January. The staff for the show, the original creator is Kazutaka Kodaka of Danganronpa and Akudama Drive. The studio is Linden Films, and the director is Yu Aoki of Bean Bandit, a very favorite anime of mine. The synopsis: Haru Shirogane is a weak-minded person who is constantly bullied, while Taiga has traveled from across the sea in hopes of becoming the strongest man in the world. And one night, the two meet up with Shun Kamiya, the strongest XB, or extreme baseball player, and leader of the Minato tribe. And when they meet, each of the tribes scattered throughout Neo-Tokyo are about to face a major threat. So we will have to see how this sort of maybe dystopian future anime, I'm not really sure, pans out when this comes out in January. Next up, a sequel announcement. The anime Our Last Crusade, or The Rise of a New World, which we already reviewed and not all that favorably, is going to be getting a sequel to its first season, which was 12 episodes and came out in fall of 2020, it was produced by Studio Silverlink, streamed on Funimation. So this light novel began way back in May 2017, and it published its 11th volume on May 20th. So if you are a fan of Our Last Crusade and The Rise of a New World, and you've seen the original season of the anime, look out for this sequel coming out. It looks like it won't be that far off. Next up, a couple random and perhaps sad announcements. The director Yuji Suzuki, who recently directed Eden Zero, has passed away, it looks like, on September 9th in a hospital in Tokyo. Before helming Eden Zero with chief director Shinji Ishihara, Suzuki served as episodes director on Fairy Tail seasons, Saint Seiya, and a whole bunch of other properties. So if you are a fan of Yuji Suzuki, our condolences to his family and to the studio as well. And lastly, a little bit of random news. Roxanne Modafferi, who is a MMA fighter for the UFC, is also an outwardly known anime fan, and during her official weigh-ins for last Saturday's UFC 266 event for the flyweight weight class, fighter Roxanne struck a pose that we would recognize if you were any anime fan, which is the now famous salute used by the Scout Regiment in Attack on Titan. So you can very clearly see her standing for weigh-ins doing a very good rendition of the salute from Attack on Titan. And also she has paid homage to anime in the past, specifically from My Hero Academia and other properties. So if you're a fan of anime, she joins the ranks of the style bender himself, Adesanya, who is also well known as an anime fan in MMA. This is Mitsugi, and this was your anime news break. And now, time to get back to the podcast. Anime fans, I know you want to keep this podcast ad-free. That way we don't have to do promos for things like Manscaped. Again, as I said in the opening of this episode today, you definitely don't want to hear me talking about grooming my nutsack. It would not be pleasurable to your ear holes, I promise. So if you would like to help keep this podcast ad-free, we would so appreciate it if you would go to aapodcast.com/join or Patreon. It's a small contribution, very small, and you'll be helping out this podcast and making sure that we can pay for all of our internet expenses, all of the streaming expenses, all of the production expenses, etc., on and on, so much, blah, blah, taxes, who likes all that stuff. No one likes it, but we like you, and we hope you'll head over to aapodcast.com/join or Patreon. And again, the best reward is you will have to hear nothing about my nutsack.
And now, great moments in Anime Addicts Anonymous history.
When I was growing up, I grew up in like West Virginia in the mountains, and we would spend most of our free time hiking and like finding dead deer skeletons and all this crazy shit that like kids do in the woods, right?
Wait, what about the anime cliche of a pile of porn?
Cue Kazuo talking about like the porn mags and there's always a sofa in the woods somewhere, and there's always porn magazines under the cushion. It's such like they're like shamefully hiding in the woods, like rubbing one out on like a bench somewhere in the woods. This is Caroline's fault, Mason. I see you shaking your head no, but
okay, I just said porn. I did not get graphic with
well,
it.
you know
You know where Mitz's head is at. You knew he was gonna take this. He's so loopy. His inhibitions are at an all-time low.
Porn magazines only have one use in this world, and it's not like reading material, okay?
This is a very adult episode.
I didn't say that you like, whip your stuff out and start like, going to town on it.
Well, now you are.
I did, but I censored myself, okay? Oh, shit. Brings me back to the time on the farm with my pappy. When I signed out of Fenner Kenny. Welcome back to the podcast. When we left you guys, we had an intro trivia question. It was, in ODDTAXI, what type of a martial art does Shirakawa practice as a hobby? And the answer is capoeira, which I also did for a few years. So.
Oh, really?
That was surprising.
Knew that.
I thought a Bollywood movie was about to start. That was probably one of the funniest lines in that show.
All right, so again, we're glad to have you guys back, and all of you watching on Twitch, thank you so much for tuning in. And now we're going to do a segment. We don't do it too often, but occasionally we do have submissions for this. It is Living Big in Japan.
日本のいいとこ見てみよう It's time to live big in Japan.
If you go to our website, aapodcast.com/mailbag, you will be able to submit a Living Big in Japan, which is really for you to ask any questions you want about Japan. The credibility here would be that I lived in Japan for 2 years. I've traveled there 6 or 7 times, and Mason's also been to Japan. And we hope one day Caroline will be able to go to Japan as well. So she's like, well, whatever.
Who knows?
All right, so this is a double dose of Tsuki Wolf, who submitted 2 questions, so I kind of bundled them. how come the Xbox never does well in Japan? I ask as I've always noticed that Microsoft's consoles always sell poorly there, but I was wondering if the Series S could actually succeed there due to its size, whatever that means.
So, I guess to interrupt, the Series S is slightly smaller than the other Xbox by like half of a. It's like 0.15 of a foot cubed, like less. Like it's such like. No. Why do you think its size would make a difference? Like, it's not like the Xbox is not succeeding in Japan because it's a slightly bigger console. So no. To answer that second question, it's not because of the size.
Well, I'm not really sure Xbox is doing well anywhere at the moment. It seems to be third place in pretty much all the major regions, which are US, Europe, and Japan. However, the reasons why I don't think it does well in Japan is, one, Sony and Nintendo have the home field advantage in that they're both Japanese companies, and being in Japan, that is a factor. Because the companies of Sony and Nintendo, they just have more of a connection with the culture of Japan. They know what Japanese people want. They understand it better. Also, Nintendo and Sony are the incumbents in the market, especially Nintendo. So it's, when you're entrenched in the market like that and you've been making a connection with consumers for so much longer than anybody else, it's really difficult to sort of enter as like a foreign company and try to break into the market. Also, I think that the selection of games and content is a big factor. I mean, I think Nintendo's pretty obvious. Like, they have Mario, they have all of the sort of games that people know and love, and they've been enjoying them for years, and that's why Nintendo continues to be successful. But Sony's always been focused on anime and RPG content in their games too. If you go to Japan and you walk through like a game store in Akihabara, there's like a fucking ton of anime games from like anime you recognize on PlayStation. There just is. So, and you won't see that much Xbox stuff in those stores. But like, if you want to buy one of any number of Sword Art Online games, they're all there on PlayStation, for you to buy, for example. So, I don't know if you guys have anything else to add, but
I was just going to add, it's probably also a compounding thing where I get a PlayStation and you are my friend and you would want to play with me. So you also get a PlayStation because there might have been like cross-platforming or stuff. Now you and I both have PlayStations and Caroline wants to play with us. Well, she's also going to get a PlayStation. So it just develops a culture where everyone is, in order to play with their friends, is compiling on the same consoles, and it just builds on that probably.
Yeah. Suki Wolf also writes, why is it so taboo for anime to ever mention the Japanese imperial family? I ask as it's been bugging me recently that Japanese media can't have such discussions regarding them. And to be honest, I'm not really aware that there's... first of all, the Japanese imperial family doesn't have a serious role in the daily lives of Japanese people. They don't really run anything. They're not in charge of anything. They're just symbolic of Japan's history and culture, and that's about it. So they don't have any place in government or any kind of power or anything. So I'm not really aware of any general awareness. I don't have any general awareness of this topic really, but I would say that I'm not aware that the Japanese family is actually a taboo topic at all. I just think it's kind of a mundane talking point more than it is taboo.
I'd be curious where he's getting this like taboo assumption from. It'd be like watching Power Rangers and being like, what? Why aren't they bringing up the state of representatives? Why aren't they bringing up Congress?
Oh.
Like, is it taboo for... It's like, no, it's just not relevant to what they're talking about, and it just serves no purpose. And so maybe I'm missing something, but I definitely haven't heard of any sort of taboo thing around the family.
I don't think they are taboo. I just think it's mundane, and it's like no one really cares. So it's like, why would you...
the only royal family that enters media at all is the
British one?
The English royal family, because that is the forefront of any discussion on the royals. So I feel like there are so many royal families all over the world that don't get as much attention as the British royal family. And that includes Japan.
Anyway, but thanks for your submission. Again, at aaapodcast.com/mailbag. We'll get you there, and we will read them. If you write them, we will read them. So, and now, time to do the mailbags.
It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime.
Mailbag.
If you would like to submit a mailbag, you can go to www.aaapodcast.com and hit the mailbag button, like Kiryu Christian did. He says that I hope you're all well. What manga creator or director or studio, in your opinion, creates the best manga/anime hair?
It's really
a very
tough.
out there question. His favorite is Matsuri Hino, author, and illustrator of the Vampire Knight manga. When I chose to buy Volume 1, it was due to the synopsis coinciding with my interests and my eye saying, "This is the most beautifully drawn hair I've ever seen." Well, I guess that's one way to make a first impression. Thank you for all your hard work. So Mitsuki, what do you got?
Well, I think it's a very random question. I never really considered this, honestly. I do find hair to be very beautiful a lot of the time. I'm still kind of smitten with Rin's hair from To Your Eternity. I like Asuna's hair from Sword Art. So I don't know. I just think long flowing hair is so versatile and beautiful, and I love it when it's kind of all spilled out on the ground, like it was in that shot of Rin and then To Your Eternity. It's very like ornate, and I don't know, the way that it gets drawn in anime in that way is like, it's curling around and it's kind of got its own natural flow. It just looks gorgeous when it's all just laid out almost like a backdrop. So I also think Lucy from Elfen Lied has nice hair also. I don't know, this is really hard. I'm just like looking up like nice hair in anime. So, but I do find in general hair can be like extremely beautiful, so I do appreciate it. Even though
My first thought when looking at this question was also that it was very strange, but the first answer that popped into my mind was Chitanda from Hyoka, because I loved her hair. I thought it was like the most voluminous hair I've ever seen. And also, there's so many great shots of Chitanda, and a lot of it has to do with the movement of her hair. And I realized that's because it's Kyoto Animation, and Kyoto Animation is kind of like a broken record around in anime discussions, but they do make really great hair. Violet Evergarden as well. Shoko from A Silent Voice, I loved her hair. So of course that also do with their style of animation, very flowing, and I do think they make pretty good hair.
I like how our examples of best hair tend to fall in the which looks realistic in how hair could be, maybe with some nice colors, but it's not like the Dragon Ball, oh, I wish I had that kind of absurdity hair. I like how we all went with natural ones, because I went with manga-based ones. Obviously, Otoyo Megatari, A Bride Story, done by Kaoru Mori, or Vagabond by Takehiko Inoue. I think both of those have phenomenal uses of hair. So, very realistic to boot, and really makes things more intense. But yeah, I also can't say I focus a ton on hair when I watch stuff. So, interesting question.
Considering we all had pretty specific answers to this question, I'd say that we actually do pay attention to hair quite a bit.
Literally, when I saw this question, I turned to my manga shelf and just started flipping through things until I'm like, oh, that works. So that's how so I did not spend much time. This next question comes to us suspiciously from not Louis the Cat. So thank you, everyone besides Louis. Howdy, partners. If you were to get any anime-themed tattoo, what would you get, and why is it Kentaro Oe from Golden Boy hugging a toilet? Mitsugi, defend your position.
I don't know. It's probably a picture of... Such a weird question. It's probably a...
We got two real weird questions, and I love them both.
Where the hell's my queen drop? I can't fucking find it. There's too many drops on this soundboard. To be honest, that's probably not... There we go.
Oh, yes! My queen!
It's probably not. It's probably the picture of Kentaro getting his face sucked into the swimsuit of the girl's butt during their swimming race in episode 4. He's like, they're racing and he's behind her, and he gets so close to her that he can't see he's swimming, right? So he's like rams his face right into her crotch from behind and just gets his face all sucked up in her butt.
And where would you get
How
this
does
tattoo?
he miss her legs?
I don't know. It's anime. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. How do walruses drive a cab? I don't fucking know.
Would he be like
Well,
being sucked into your
maybe.
butt mitts?
Are you sure they're a walrus?
Listen, one can only dream, Mason, but in reality, no. I'd probably get something cliche like a Dragon Ball or maybe Master Roshi or King Kai's logo from Dragon Ball Z, and I'd get it tattooed right on my buttocks.
Nice.
Yep, of course.
I thought very long and hard about this question, and I came up with nothing.
Hard, you say?
Why you gotta be like that?
Because I'm watching hentai right now. What do you want me to do?
Well, I just knew that whatever
love
tattoo, I don't even know what to say to you sometimes. But let's
just move on.
I'm sorry. Just say nothing. Just keep going.
Okay. I don't know if I would ever get a tattoo, but I know if I did, it would have to be very small and subtle, symbolic, meaningful, especially if it's going to be something from an anime, because I just like things to be subtle that way. So the only thing I could think about was maybe the Avatar element symbols, because I know it's not technically a 100% anime, but it's close enough to me.
Would you
It's
get
probably one
all
of the more.
4, or would you just like pick one?
I don't know if I can pick just one, but maybe when Iroh's kind of explaining the connections that the 4 elements have, and he puts them in a circle but also divided, maybe that on my shoulder or something.
Gotcha.
Maybe also the koi fish, because I love koi fish. But I would also possibly see an Appa silhouette too, because it would just be so cute. And yeah, like maybe Appa in front of the moon or something.
Trying to think if people would know what that's the silhouette of. Like
I
they might
feel
just think
like
it's a chunky
if
caterpillar. But I could also see it. I don't know. It depends on the silhouette, I guess. But that is very cute
Yeah,
because
it would
Appa
also have to
is
be well done.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I've already committed to my brother that if I did get a tattoo, it would be a piece of broccoli. So I'd probably just get the one from
What?
Mob Psycho 100. It's
What?
not a long story, but yeah, I've already set in stone that if I ever get a tattoo, which is unlikely, if I did, it legally has to be a piece of broccoli.
Oh wow.
I would
okay.
really love that story. I think that's a after party story at some
I
point.
think I've already told this story, but yeah, it might be a
maybe I didn't hear
after
it
party one of these days.
Well,
But,
with that, shall we move on?
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
my, the time has come.
Yep.
It has indeed.
Let me
What time is it?
on taxi time. It's time
Odd
for
taxi,
Mason
come on.
to put on his positivity pants for once because
You're talking about
God,
yourself, Mason?
Yeah. Just positivity for all because I like the show. Spoilers, watch it. Anyway, Odd Taxi came out in spring of 2021. Not summer, I think. Please, am I going crazy? Was it spring?
No.
Yes. No, it was spring. It has to be spring.
Oh yeah.
Please
April
believe me.
6th.
You can watch this over on VRV or Crunchyroll, whichever you prefer. And I passed the show on episode 576. This is actually the 5th of 6 straight reviews that we are doing of shows that I did impressions on. So this is not the season of The Witch, but the season of The Mason.
You weren't even here last week.
I know, but it was still a show.
Dude, she just comes in with like
I
the
did
axe and just
impressions.
hatchets you.
I mean, my point is still factually correct, which is the
Very
best kind of correct.
choicey one to come out on. Like definitely wasn't the review of Odd Taxi that you had missed, but it was definitely the one before it that you would
Hey,
miss.
I wasn't the one who said to review the show without me, but you guys decided to. Anyway, this is done by Studio OLM, known for doing literally every random show under the sun, including Pokemon and Berserk. Fittingly, another studio was with them, PICS, which haven't done anything, and I'm wondering if just when you put OLM and PICS together, you get Olympics, kind of, sort of, when this was coming out, so maybe that's why they did it. I have no idea.
That's
Either
fair.
way, what is Odd Taxi? So Odd Taxi tells the story of full-time taxi driver and full-time walrus Odokawa, who lives a simple life, much to the envy of Yoshikage Kira, but his peaceful routine is thrown out of orbit when a bunch of interesting individuals get him wrapped up in their schemes and ambitions and the case of a missing girl. So this is a half social commentary, half intertwining mystery plot, and a completely original anime, which is always something that I look for. So, initial expectations. Caroline, what did you have going into Odd Taxi?
Well, I heard a lot of people talking about it. I did not watch it until, last week when when we were preparing for a review. I just heard about Walrus Boy, animals, taxi, and mystery, and that's all I knew
Walrus
going
Boy.
forward.
That's what you
Yeah.
remembered.
In general, yes. I don't really retain a lot of things from when we do impressions because I have no idea if it's actually going to be turning out into something that I should actually pay attention to. But I was hearing a lot about it. I did not really keep up with anybody's thoughts going through the anime, so I wasn't sure if it was going to fall apart at any point in time. I just knew that people loved it. So I was excited to watch it. That's all I knew going forward.
Awesome. And Mitz?
I knew nothing about it. I just didn't know how walruses could drive a car. I know you liked it. I know it's the 29th highest rated anime ever on my anime list. So, I
Wow.
mean, I think that says something for sure. But yeah, I mean, they got little flippers. We talked about this. It's like, how do they drive it? I mean, he doesn't have feet. How does he use the pedals?
Well, maybe
mean-
you will figure out the answer when we talk about other things.
Yeah, so my initial expectations going in, obviously with it being everyone is an animal, you obviously draw ties to things like Beastars
Yeah.
and Agretzko and stuff like that. And I was immediately endeared with the writing. The dialogue in the show immediately blew me away. But I was very skeptical actually continuing it because it seemed like it was laying the groundwork for this mystery plot. And I've seen so many anime start off with like a promising mystery that they squander it, or it just has a rough ending, or never really comes together. And I was like, this could be the downfall, is like leaning too hard on the mystery, and this could, break up the dialogue that I came here to enjoy. So I was skeptical, but I felt a little spark of something special, which is why I decided to pass it over, a lot of shows that I also thought were good. I mean, I passed it over 86 and Zombieland Saga Revenge and stuff like that because I was like, there's something special here and I want to give it a chance. So was that a good call? Spoiler-free recommendations, Caroline? What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely recommendable. And it doesn't even matter what specific genre that you kind of cater yourself to because it's a very interesting show with a lot of different characters you kind of have to keep track of. But it has plot twists that actually work out, and it's a rarity that you can actually be caught off guard by something in a show these days. I think that it's very well done. The OPs and EDs were very well received, if that means anything to you. But overall, it's just it looks good. It flows well. There's a lot of different plot lines in the show, but somehow they don't get too tangled up, and they actually are kind of woven together in a very good way by the end that you enjoy. So yes, very recommendable.
Nice, Sue.
Nice,
Mitz.
Suda. This is the best anime of the year so far.
My man.
So this is incredibly easy to recommend. It has everything. It has comedy. It has intrigue. It has violence. It has crime in it. It has everything. I mean, it's got. Come on, it's got
rapping porcupine. Damn it!
I actually don't like the porcupine guy much. So I thought he was annoying, but
his voice was not that great.
I hated how he rapped everything. I'm like, why? What is wrong with you? Like, what kind of a condition do you have that requires you to do that? But
well, there's a lot of strange, conditions in this show that we'll get to.
But yeah, I mean, and the way that I just love so many things about it. I love the way that all of the narratives kind of pass through Otokawa. I love the way the characters look. The theme song, and we'll get to all this. Holy shit, everything in the show is great. Yeah, I'd recommend it for sure. I don't want to go on and on right now.
Yeah, the show is an absolute must watch. It's so good. It's hard to, like, obviously there's a lot to it, and I don't want to focus on just the writing, but this show It's such a triumph on crafting a story that is engaging and fresh that it made it a clear standout of not just the season, but as Mitch mentioned, perhaps the entire year. Out of the
Yeah.
100 plus shows I reviewed on this podcast, this is easily in the top 3, and I adore it. It's so good. So watch Odd Taxi. Sincerely, I don't care what you think about animal shows or if the art style isn't quite what you're used to with big eyes and cool hair, but if you're even remotely curious, I urge you to pause this podcast and give it a shot, because I think it's really worth the hype that it's getting. It's somehow so well loved and so underslept on at the same time that watch it, people.
If you don't
And
like
then come back.
And
if you don't like animal shows, you're wrong. Go fucking watch Odd Taxi. Come back and you'll sit and you'll go, you know what, Mitz? I was wrong. I do like animal shows. Look at that. What do you know? So, should we get into spoilers?
I think so.
yeah, let's spoil the heck out of it.
Where the fuck is my spoiler drop?
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god.
And the Twitch
Maybe
audience
we can start.
crumbles, which is fine. You don't want to be spoiled. Come back later. I love how the characters look in this. I think I don't even know where to begin with it. Honestly, I love how all of the storylines all begin with taxi rides inside of Odokawa's taxi. I think that it's a very clever way to sort of connect all of the characters together. They're all connected by one thing. Some of them are connected by more than one thing, but they're all connected by at least one thing, and the least common denominator is Odokawa, and who is the walrus taxi man. He's a good old walrus boy.
He would be such a good podcaster. If we could get him on this show, that'd be amazing.
You think so? You think he would do it?
I think a fictional podcast guest would be amazing.
And for the most part, all the individual like sort of storylines that are occurring in the show are all fairly interesting. I mean, we'll get into like our favorites, I think, but and we'll get into who we would like to ride in the taxi with. But I found all of the storylines of all the different characters to be pretty interesting. They're not all slam dunks, but most of them are pretty great. And the way that the story comes together in the end, and I'm not going to drop like just unnecessary spoilers to be honest with you, but the way that the story comes together in the end is just like magnificent. The way that the imagery of all the things being dropped into like water was so clever. I was like, wow, this is just like so great. It's just all that last episode just, you know, it's like sometimes the anime have like a really strong first 3 episodes, and then they do a whole bunch of jack shit for like 8 episodes, and then there's like a couple episodes at the end that tie it together. And then sometimes they tie shit together like by episode 11, and then there's a bunch of crap afterwards. It doesn't matter. This show is timed so well. It's like, oh, we got everything done we needed to do, and now episode 13, here's this fucking bow that just makes everything good in life, and then you're happy. That's how it goes.
Yeah, we definitely realize what good writing can mean to a show to elevate it to such a level where we're just like, why don't we get more shows like this? Like, it's obviously
Because
very
it's that well
difficult to
done.
craft something this magnificent, but to execute it so well is amazing. And I think a lot of people will first watch episode 1 and be like, oh, like I get the mood and the characters, I get the vibe of it, and you're like, don't think much. But if you go back and rewatch episode 1, it is almost overwhelming how many seeds are planted, hints and clues, plots beginning before you even thought they did, like the manifestation of desires and secrets. It's so densely packed but understandable. It's not, you're never ever confused on like, wait, what's going on? Wait, no, like it makes sense in such an intuitive and natural way that is tough to actually write. So it was a great plot. It's so good.
You know, here's the thing for me. The only thing that I wasn't really huge on was I found Odokawa's like lack of energy. I know it's intentional. It's just got a little bit boring to me.
Oh no, he
That's
was good.
it's
He
a
was
very
good the whole
minor
time.
thing. Very
He was-
minor. Overall,
fine.
you know, still good.
The only thing I was like not the keenest on was kind of two things. One was there was a little too much of chance involved, and I get that's how all of life is, but you kind of had someone winning the lottery and then someone else winning another lottery, and like the virality of someone getting successful. So, and I also thought some of the humor and jokes, while grounded and realistic, I was never like, this is funny. I was never like, I never got the jokes of them. And maybe it was translation. Maybe that's what they were supposed to come off as, but I was never laughing with the characters. I was just kind of like, okay, like it's fine. But besides that, I thought everything was a slam dunk.
And actually, speaking of that kind of off comedy thing, like the whole comedy duo drama wasn't all that interesting to me. In fact, like out of all the plot lines, I'd say that one was the least interesting. And also because they weren't funny. Like, I know that's kind of the thing with them, is that they weren't supposed to be funny, but not even the rest of the comedy duos they had on, like, they had brought into the show. I didn't laugh at them once or find what was so funny.
I mean, they tried their best.
Weren't funny.
Wow. I'm trying to think, like, probably my least favorite storyline sort of arc was... yeah, I mean, it's probably the comedy duo. They're very, like, inconsequential overall. They were probably the least consequential to the story overall. I mean, I'm not really sure, but if you remove them from the show, it may still function largely the same way. They weren't that as involved, really.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that, but their dynamic of the straight man, funny man, like splintering apart as one achieves success and one is kind of being relegated to the past, like... I guess I get what they were trying to say with that social dynamic, even if, like you said, it didn't really impact too much the overarching mystery and plot and crime and violence that you mentioned.
Probably my favorite storyline in the show. I really, man, I don't know. I really liked the kid who got conned or whatever.
Oh my god. See, episode 4 was so good.
Yeah.
I loved that episode.
It's very... It was kind of cringy watching him pretend to be someone he wasn't. But then at the end of it all, everybody was lying in that storyline because he was lying, she was lying, everybody's lying. And...
Oh, you're talking about the monkey.
Yeah, I'm talking about the monkey.
I was talking about the cat with his gotcha game.
I mean, I like the cat as well, but the monkey, his storyline was just so... engaging because he gets kidnapped or whatever and it's all planned out and it's just I don't know, I didn't see it coming and and I often don't see things coming that other people do, but I thought it was great. Yeah, pretty much. And
yeah, episode 4 was the gotcha game after we hear about the story of him like not getting the eraser.
Yeah,
Oh my
that was
God,
a really
yeah.
strange starting point. It's like, and we collected erasers. I'm like, what possible interest could this start? And then he became so deranged, and it was so... They did a really good job making such a creepy feeling coming out of him when he, lost everything.
So, who would you guys like to ride in a taxi with, though? I think for me, it's got to be the cat guy. He
The
just seems
deranged cat guy?
No, the one that won the lottery or whatever.
He's not a cat.
Am I?
He's not a cat?
Yeah. No, he's like,
What is he?
I thought he was some sort of dog or wolf.
Oh,
That's another
really?
thing with the show, is that the characters, even though they're supposed to be animals, you can hardly ever tell what kind of animal they are supposed to be.
Really?
For me, I sometimes had a hard time with it. We need to look this up. What is this guy?
I mean, I don't know. I think that there was a giraffe. That's pretty
I mean, I
clear.
thought he was a skunk, but
Oh, maybe he is. I don't know. But I'd like to ride
he
with
has
him.
that little like tuft of hair.
He just seemed like the most, I don't know. He seemed like
Oh my
fairly-
god, he is a skunk.
Hey,
Okay, he's a skunk. Fine. I'd ride with the skunk. He's like,
knowing
skunks
that
aren't,
he's a skunk, would that change your mind?
skunks aren't smelly unless you make them scared anyway. So, I don't know. I liked him pretty well. He was a cool guy. He had cool hair. And he just gives his money away anyway. Maybe he'd give me some money. He's a good guy. So
Yeah, for me, it'd probably be Imai as well. I thought he was such a good boy, even though sometimes he was a little bit of a creeper with the whole idol thing. But overall, still a really good guy. I liked him, and also maybe Shirakawa because she's pretty cool.
I mean, is he really a
she's
creeper? That's
awesome.
like that's what idol fans do. I mean, they go to shows and
I know.
I definitely don't. I think that it portrayed all of the conditions very realistically and savagely at the same time. Like, I think if you were in the same situation, like, it made sense how all these characters ended up where they did, but also, like, from an outsider looking in, you realize, like, that endless slope of, like, downward spiral into where they're at now, and you're just like, no, get out of it. But it's when you're in that moment, it's so hard to break the shackles of whatever it is that is plaguing you, that you really feel for everyone in the show, good or bad. You see how they ended up there, and you're like, I understand their motivations and the volition behind the steps they're taking.
I was literally like shouting no with the whole online bidding thing. I'm like, don't do it. No. And then the
Oh
same
my
thing with the
God,
monkey
yeah, that was
because
so
he
sad.
just kept on digging his hole. Both of those characters kept on digging their holes and never thinking another step ahead. And I was and it's for that reason why I didn't really sympathize with the monkey. The cat I was kind of like interested in, so I didn't really care if I sympathized or not. But I'm just like, can you just think for 1 minute?
well, that sort of thing would never happen in real life anyway. Like you would just not pay for the bid. Like eBay would give you a black mark, but you would just not pay. You don't have to pay. That's not how it works. You guys ever use eBay?
Nope.
Well, if you bid $1 million for a pair of socks, you don't have to pay the $1 million. You can just ghost them. It's pretty easy to do. I mean, so.
But I
But
think
he
he
did
went
pay.
through with
But
it
he
and
did
he
pay.
just
Well,
never sent it.
He's an idiot. Yeah, he
Well,
got his fucking ass
clearly.
kicked too. But you know, I don't know. It probably happens to people in real life. I don't know. It's like you go on tilt. It's like when you're playing poker. You know, you get like angry and you overbet and you get determined to win, and he was on tilt, I guess, and probably mentally ill as well, clearly. So
That's why I kind of thought it was strange that he just went back to regular life as if he's completely normal, but for a very long time he was actually deranged. I think he probably should have gone to a mental hospital.
yeah. What else, guys? I thought the music was fucking great. Both the opening and the ending were fantastic. The opening is really good.
Biggest problem with the opening is that
Yeah.
sometimes it was only a minute long instead of the full minute and
Yeah.
a half. Sometimes they cut it short, and that made me mad because, damn, this OP was good from the vibe to the imagery to, like, when you really look, you can see all the affliction that each is suffering from like Taichi being inflated, from his phone going off, from whatever his friend name, I watched the show a while ago, AG, like going nuts with the hard eyes with the different
yeah.
like swiping on the phone. Like, there's so many small details put in over just an absolute catchy thing that just gets you in the mood to watch this show. And this shows a complete mood, and that OP captures it. It's so good.
I liked the whole like they're going like this, like the cat and they like putting their fists in the air. It was.
I almost made that the title screen for this episode, but it was like an orange background, and it wouldn't have fit with the red. But I did like that with Fuyuki.
Oh yeah, it was a ton of fun. I think that the theme song, I'm not sure what style of music that is, but the theme song reminds me of like the Jujutsu Kaisen theme song a little bit, and I love both of them really well. They both have like sort of that, it's like
the Korean hip hop.
jazz. It's like jazz and rap, and I don't know. It's like it's pretty solid stuff. So, and boy, I just loved pretty much everything about this anime. I love the twist at the end. I don't know if you guys want to get into the twist.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're
it's
in spoiler
I mean,
territory.
do we need to get into the twist?
I don't know. I mean, I
I
don't
mean,
want to.
did you guys see the twist coming?
Hell
How
no.
about that?
I didn't.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Oh, I called that
saw it coming,
episode 2. I think I called it in my impression.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh well.
I
I
there
think
it
I
is.
really only considered it because I'd like to list. I like to go through all the comments of each episode. And a lot of people were like going through they called it the Odokawa perspective theory, and they kept on talking about it like every single episode, like, hey, this actually tracks with this theory that we have. And when it's actually confirmed, it's I kind of saw it when they were talking a lot about it in the comments. I'm like, and by the twist, I'm like, are you sure this twist has not already been spoiled? Like that people have not seen this twist coming at this point?
I think the best part about the twist is that so often you'll hear Odokawa be like, "Oh, I'm really good at picking up people from a crowd," and you're like, "Okay, like how? Like obviously you can because they all are animals. Like it's obvious." But we see because he perceives people in that way that, like, that's why he has some of the skill sets that he does is because of how he perceives the world, and it like makes more sense to the way he addresses people and objects.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Oh man, yeah. I just don't know if I have anything negative to say about the show, really. It's I don't know. It's fun. It's fun, but at the same time, it's not like goofy the way some anime sometimes is. And it wouldn't really have worked for me if it had been really silly. And I feel like I almost feel like the characters being animals helps with that in some way, because some of the designs in anime are a little bit immature, and that kind of like it's kind of weird to see like characters that look like they're 12 like doing big boy things like murdering people or whatever. And I don't know, when they're animals, it almost like neutralizes that. So I felt like the animal thing really fit really well. I can't help but draw comparisons to Beastars as far as the character designs go. But at the same time, I like the designs in this show just as much. It's definitely clearly very different because this is not CG, but although the cars are sometimes CG.
Yep.
Maybe that's the only bad thing about it. Like the CG was not great when they used it, but I don't think it was a major part of the show at all. Do you guys have any negative things to say about Odd Taxi?
Some of the details of the many plot lines were kind of hard for me to keep track because, like, they would switch plot lines very frequently, and sometimes the details don't really stick in your head. So you're like, wait a minute, what's happening now? Kind of thing for me. But I wouldn't say that's really a huge detractor considering that they did the plot lines very well, all considering how many there were.
Yeah, I don't have too much. Literally, I remember as the show was ending, like the big finale happens, and I'm like, oh, that was a pretty good show. It wrapped up almost everything. But there is like one question I still have left. It answered 95% of my questions, but there's one left, and I don't know if I can really give a show that is like missing that thing like such a great score. And then after everything, there's that little like segment at the end where they do actually answer that last question. I was like, they did it. They captured everything. Every moment, as convoluted as was, they threw 20 balls up in the air and managed to juggle them all without any issues. Like, for everything to come together so well was stupendous. And yes, I'm kind of with Mitz. The rapping hedgehog boss man, like
Porcupine.
Porcupine, yeah, I could have gone without that. And there was some stylistic things, but I think overall, as Mitz kind of mentioned, the intent of this show was like better captured by them being animals. I think that helped with the show, the look of it, as well as the twist. I think the music, the voice acting, like it all fed into telling the story that it wanted to tell, and nothing in that mess got like detracted away from, which is the mark of a well-produced show when everything is driving towards the same goal. So it knew what it wanted to be. It had the confidence to do it, and you have to admire that.
Yeah, I didn't. There are small gripes here and there about it, but ultimately, it's nothing really all that severe that I would even mention it. And the porcupine guy is honestly a minor character anyway, as far as I'm concerned. So, I did find it a little weird that the llama was able. She fucking swims to the bottom of like Tokyo Bay or whatever that is, and like it's just chilling, and then she opens a car door underwater
window
and drags this like person much larger than her out of the car and then resurfaces in the dark with no lights. And I'm like, impossible. Like, it could never happen. You know? You would never...
There were some action scenes with Dobu when he gets in the gunfights and he gets shot and then he just has a casual conversation with someone else, the influencer guy. Like, some moments were just like, okay, I got it. But
some people will say, oh, Mitz, you got to suspend your disbelief. And I'll be like, maybe, but like, this is not really a suspension of disbelief anime. It's very much like a, you know, there's not much like far-fetched fantasy type stuff going on. So
yeah, I mean, I have a hard time with this whole like suspend your disbelief kind of thing, because I can do that when it's kind of explained in the universe of the show and it doesn't make it makes sense in a weird way. But when it's something that has not been explained within the show, that it doesn't feel like it should make sense, that is when it's like, nah, that's not like suspending your disbelief. That is just a weird part of a show.
Yeah, we'd be having to reach for any major negative flaws with it. So watch ODDTAXI. That's really what this review consists of. So I don't have anything else to wax on. The show makes its case better than I could.
Who wants to go first?
I can go first if you guys want. So
it's your show, Mason. You might as well.
ODDTAXI is spectacular. As of now, easily the best show of the year. If you want, I highly recommend going to YouTube, where you can find the fully translated bonus audio dramas. There's like a series of 6 of just literally like radio recordings of the characters in this show, like in character in this world. You know that giraffe guy who like goes to the comedy shows? Like, he runs this like nighttime radio program that they just made this stuff for, and it is just as good as the show. Like, there's a bunch of side content out there revolving around ODDTAXI, from the Twitter profile that acted as the characters in the show. Like, there's just such another level to appreciate that. If you enjoy the show, check them out. They are worth the time, and it's great. I can't recommend it enough. Is it a 5 out of 5? I can't in my heart of hearts say it is, so I'm going to give this 4.5 capoeira leg sweeps out of 5. It's a must-watch, and I can't recommend it enough.
It's the best anime of the year so far. I think it'll probably be the best anime of the year when it's all said and done. It's I really had no issues with it. The pacing was really solid. The length was just right. It wraps up perfectly. It has some like pretty nice twists, even if you guys saw them ahead of time, etc., etc. I think it's just as good. Man, I don't know. It's I mean, I don't know. I gave To Your Eternity a 4.5, I think, and honestly, To Your Eternity's second half is pretty fucking a far cry from this anime. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give this 5 kitty cat idols out of 5.
Hell yeah, I love it, my dude.
Meow.
I love it. Love to hear it.
Don't I have a drop for this? Go ahead. Keep talking. I'll find it.
I really like this show. I have to say that it was very entertaining, and it's not very frequent that you get a show that has what this show has, with its multiple plot lines and very well put together, tied up great, and with a lot of really good characters too, with interesting twists along the way. I have been going back and forth between giving it a 4 and a 4.5. The thing is that for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked with me as being one of the best shows I've ever seen, which I feel like is
just do
kind
it.
of among
it's
you
no
guys.
it's no
For
Gakko
God's
Garashi.
sake. Yeah, it's no Gakko Gurashi.
Stop it! Leave me alone.
Man, she fucking loves Gakko Gurashi. This is so crazy.
I do not. You guys make a big deal out of it.
You gave it an 8 out of you gave it an 8 out of 10.
Because I enjoyed it. I'm not saying like it's the freaking best thing I've ever seen. You guys just don't understand my scoring process, even though I've explained it way too many times. I don't know. I feel like giving it 4.5 now would just be peer pressure.
Yeah, that's kind of why I said it.
You're not cram. But maybe it is that good that it does deserve a 4.5. So let's just do it. Well, you guys can leave me alone now. 4.5 rapping porcupines out of 5. You guys are so dramatic.
Always.
Why are all the idols little cats? It's so obvious. But you know what? It's like the other thing is like you guys might have said this, but this is an original anime, so somebody at OLM can write some fucking stories. You know what I mean? Like for once, it's not like an original anime where girls try to play hockey and then they end up being like at the beach half the time. It's like no, somebody sat down and like wrote a fucking story. That's the thing. You know what I mean? So props for that.
I love how you're making reference passing judgment on a show that you have not even seen yet.
I've seen the trailer. I've seen them being both like review Starlight Idol girls on the hockey ice and at the beach in the same trailer. So, well, we're gonna find out soon. So how do you feel about that?
Oh, actually, the idol girl, she's a poodle, not a cat.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
gives
Didn't I
a
tell
shit?
you that the animals are confusing? They're not.
Oh, come on. Bertman.
Yeah.
Bertman 4 is like, excuse me, it's a poodle. You know what? You take
Yeah,
your
I didn't know it's
golden
poodle, I just
doodles and
forgot.
your poodles and your all these other poodles that people buy nowadays with their like curly hair and their bad breath and march them on out of here. People
Are you just upset that you don't have hair?
No, it's fantastic. I don't have to waste money on shampoo or haircuts or anything.
We've been all over the place in this show, I feel.
Taxi is officially a 5 now, as it averages out, which is a big win. So
I don't think so.
I'm happy. I think so.
A 4.5, a 4.5, and a 5 does not average to a 5.
Well, it averages to a.
Close enough.
I guess. Do we average up if it's like a 4 point?
That's 14 divided by
6?
3. That's 4.66. So
Does that go down? Does it have to be 4.75?
I mean, I would take it down to a 4.5.
Oh, damn it. Okay,
You're rounding to the nearest half
4.5.
point. Yeah. See, but Caroline
Yeah.
ruined it. She could have given it a 5.
She could have.
I was in between a 4
She
and
sits
a
back in her chair
4.5.
like, how dare you? How
Yeah,
dare
because
you?
that wasn't even an option I gave.
Don't be mad at me. You're the one that gave it a 4.5.
Hey, this is on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Ignoring the fact that I also gave it a 4.5.
Shh.
We don't talk about that here. Let's wrap this bad boy up. We got hentai to talk about.
Yeah. It's been nothing but boobs here, and honestly, very explicit advertisements for the last hour. So.
Honestly, if I was a listener of this podcast, I'd be like, wait, are they now actually sponsored by Manscaped? Like, this has talked an awful
You
lot
don't want to
about
hear
it.
me talk about my nuts. Listen,
But
honestly,
the
I'm
meta-
dead serious.
We've already hear you talk about your nuts just by you saying you don't want to hear me talk about my
Listen,
nuts
I'm gonna tell you right now.
several times.
Listen. Times are tough right now, and if I have to turn to Manscaped ads where I talk about how delightful it was to buzz my nuts with a razor that I got off the internet, I will do it. And when that happens, you're gonna know it was your fault. So,
Is it my fault?
Mason's
Is it
smile.
really?
No, Mason's got the biggest smile, and Caroline's like, "What are you fucking talking about? Get us out of here, Caroline. This is madness."
I
This is
feel like
madness."
that's a very often facial expression for all three of us. Okay, so let's head out of here. If you would like to follow us on Twitter, please do so at AAA Podcast. Mitsuki's on Twitter too, but only in name, not really in function. He's at Pope Mitsuki. And Mason is at Macy Pacey. And we are also on Facebook and Discord, where you can join a whole bunch of other addicts and talk about all sorts of things. Join them in clubs, watch parties, debate on your favorite shows. If it's Gakugarashi, you can be really grilled on that if you so desire. But yeah, next time I believe we'll be watching Tokyo Revengers, right?
I just want you to know that if poking fun at Caroline for her love of Gakko Gurashi isn't enough of a reason to join the Discord, there is nothing we can possibly do to get you to join it.
Listen,
I mean, that is the
it is
end-all,
a
be-all.
very I wouldn't say I love it, but I've
Her
already
DMs
explained
are
myself.
open.
I'm about
Slip
to
into
You
the
literally said it was your favorite, so
I did not say. When did I say that?
roll
Replay
the tape
tapes.
back, listener. I guarantee you'll hear it.
Listen,
When did I say?
Her DMs are open, whether
No.
it's in private or in public. You know, you just got to come in there and throw some shame. Throw some shade on.
Don't be mean.
Don't be
Come
mean
in with
to
your
her.
sticks, hit the Caroline Pinata. Hopefully she'll give you some sour candy. I'm kidding.
Okay,
We have fun.
fine.
We have
Then
fun
we'll
here.
open up your anime lists, and I will grill you on why your favorite shows
damn
aren't
it.
of top quality.
You show her some respect, but at the same time, go talk some shit.
Bye, everyone. Have
Don't
fun.
encourage them. And goodbye.
We should just look at each other's My Anime list and just talk shit. That would be a fun
We
episode.
could do that.
Oh boy.
See you later, guys.
See you next time.